I know it's not really just about finger pointing, but that's not always helpful. But let's start on that point. Where does the initial blame lie for someone somewhere not being able to sort this problem out, because it's huge?
Well, I'm very interested that you say that it's a problem, because when we look at the numbers who cross the channel in relation to coming to claim asylum, that is not as large as the numbers who pre-COVID came to the UK to claim asylum in the United Kingdom. So this crisis is quite interesting that currently through Parliament, the Nationality and Borders Bill is going through the report stage, and part of the thrust of the legislation is for the Home Secretary to try and deal with these issues. And I think the finger pointing should be really in relation to the fact that the British people, when it comes to British values, open our homes and open our borders to ensure that refugees can come to the country and be safe. And that's what the Afghan crisis clearly showed. And that was against what the politics and the journalists and the media were trying to show, is that the UK is actually opening our homes and opening our borders to say, all those councils have said that we will welcome the Afghan refugees in relation to resettlement. So that really showed what British values are, is that we accept that people can come to the UK and claim asylum.
And Mr. Johnson and others made a lot of noise about the fact that after what happened in Afghanistan and its return to its current regime, that door would be open for those people. But of course, those that have been crossing the channel for many years now largely are not from Afghanistan, and lots of evidence to suggest these are economic migrants from Iran. Don't blame individuals.
I heard what
Stephen
said.
Yes, I think we know that's the case, don't we?
No, we don't know that's the case. And it's very interesting that Stephen actually had to accept, in your interview with him a few moments ago, that the majority of these people are successful. So they're actually refugees. And we know from the statistics from the Home Office published only in August that even initial decisions of refugees as a whole, they're about 44 to 46% acceptance of these initial decisions made by the Home Office. And when they go on to appeal, it's around 50%. So the majority of people who come to the UK, and this is when we talk about refugees, people who have a well-founded fear of persecution in not only Iran, Afghanistan. I deal with clients all around the world. I had a client yesterday from Yemen, Saudi Arabia, all over the world. They come in as genuine refugees because either the Home Office or our independent judges find that they're refugees. So we would need to push back on the noise which says that the majority are economic migrants. If you want to talk about economic migrant, I'm an economic migrant. I came to this country when I was 4 years old with my family. I represent these refugees, but the majority of people who come to the UK to claim asylum are refugees.
Some might say that actually that the bar is pretty low, hence the reason why there's a lot of successes. I've been over to Calais, interviewed many of these people, and colleagues that have interviewed many of these people, and many never really disputed their economic might. They weren't here to sponge. They weren't.
Well, no, it depends on what the questions the journalists are saying.
Well, it
depends on what the questions the journalists are asking.
Well, it is. My point. Let me just finish that point, Chelvan. That they weren't coming to steal our benefits and our jobs and our wives and any of that horrible stuff. Just people who thought, you know what, I don't like living in Iran. It's a bit rubbish. Eritrea's nonsense these days. It's a basket case. I want to go to the UK. Don't blame anybody.
Well, that's selective reporting. But that's clearly selective reporting because the statistics, the facts don't lie, as you say. And the facts show that the majority of people who come to the UK to claim asylum are refugees or have another
based on the success of their application.
Well, these are the statistics of Priti Patel.
No, indeed, I don't dispute that.
The Home Office.
So is the bar particularly low? We don't
do
seem to see lots of very desperate-looking people jumping out of boats, some might say.
Well, with the greatest respect, even for Stephen Wolfe, who were talking about the 56% are economic migrants, that's a World Bank survey he was referring to. We can show from the Home Office statistics that clearly doesn't apply to the UK. So what is the end point Stephen and his gang want to? Is it the end of the UK, the British values, the British tradition, to welcome those who require safety into our country? Clearly, that would be un-British. We as a nation accept, and that's what's been shown in the past couple of months with Afghan, that we will step in and step up and provide sanctuary. That's the British values we are proud of.
But if you take and you can talk about anecdotes not being
I'm talking
data,
about facts.
but no, I'm merely relaying the stories that I was alluding to a second ago. If you take a young, fit 26-year-old guy may have come from a regime that they didn't like very much and will clearly claim that their life was at threat or something like that when it comes to the application process. So again, is the bar too low? I mean,
no,
you're basing their status based on, but you're basing their status. You're concluding their refugee status based on their application success, right?
No, the application success is not based just merely on their story. That's what we call subjective fear. That's a narrative. But whether that fear of persecution is well-founded, and that's based on the Home Office and the evidence in relation to the country background material, which says that their claim is well-founded and therefore they are refugees. They do not get asylum purely based on their narrative. So the decisions of the Home Office show that the UK government accepts, the Home Office accepts, that 44%, 46% are genuine refugees, and our independent judges.
Okay.
This is the whole thing, is that our independent judges also accept that.
And what about the rest? Where do the rest go? Because that's still under half that you're referring to.
No, 44 to 47% of initial decisions are granted asylum. And then out of those who aren't granted asylum, around 50% are granted refugee protection or some sort of human rights leave. So that takes you over the 50%. Okay.
But again,
so the majority of people who come to the UK are genuine and deserve our protection. Okay. And that's either accepted by the Home Secretary and the Home Office, and
is your suspicion then this is why the Home Secretary stays rather quiet on this, because she actually knows this?
No, with the greatest respect, I've been working in this field for over 20 years. Home Secretaries come, Home Secretaries go.
Sure.
The point I'm very, very clear about is that the UK has got international rights obligations, which we find to be clearly in line with British values, that we will protect refugees. The silence at the moment is that, and I'm here to speculate. I'm here to talk about the law and the facts, and not rhetoric and anti-refugee rhetoric.
But it doesn't have to be anti. I mean, to have a concern, if you were to sort of flip this story in another way and say, look, 23,000 people. This is just this one method of coming across. Other people who are applying in different ways and other forms of immigration.
Come through our airports and our ports.
All of that. So just
in the country and then
indeed, just the dinghy crossings. 23,000 people is a lot of people, and the optics are not good. And I appreciate that we don't tabloid up these stories, because that's not helpful. But indeed it does. I get that. But simultaneously, a lot of people would, people who aren't necessarily mad right-wingers would look at this and go, 23,000 people. It's the equivalent of a small town.
Ian, what is the solution? The solution under the current bill is that our officers in the Home Office, in the Channel, when they see a dinghy and somebody is about to die, is that the British values which are proposed in this bill,
of course,
is that they will not be prosecuted if somebody dies. Are those British values? What would the public think?
I don't think anybody wants to see.
Nobody wants to see. The current government proposes that Home Office officers will not be prosecuted if people die in the Channel and we do nothing to rescue them.
But nobody's going to.
Chilling effect of what's happening.
So you put but then you would put the emphasis then on an individual. If a border force person didn't happen to act in a certain amount of time, then they could be culpable. That's surely not right either. No, I don't think any border force person would stand and watch somebody drown.
The duty is on the individual to provide safety, to rescue. That's what international maritime law is all about. The requirement, the duty of somebody to rescue somebody who's about to die. Not what the current government is proposing is that no individual is provided safety and we watch them drown in our Channel.
It doesn't say that, though, does it? It doesn't say that.
That's exactly what the provisions in the bill say. That if somebody dies, then the Home Office official will not be culpable.
Why should they be culpable?
That's what it says.
But why should they be culpable?
No, with the greatest respect, the point is that the international maritime law is that they should be rescued. So the government is proposing an opt-out.
But you might try to rescue somebody. I mean, they would try to rescue, wouldn't they? And
that's not what. No. The point being is that Priti Patel and the Home Office is suggesting that we do nothing. That's the point.
But
watch them drown in the Channel.
But that isn't going to happen.
Countries come to?
Because no border force boat with a captain there is going to say, let's just look and watch these children fall overboard. That's not going to happen.
Well, with the greatest respect, Ian, go to the bill.
No, I get what you're saying, and I can see what
because
the Home Office is
what
trying
is going
to
to be
do.
proposed. Do you think that the Home Office is going to allow individuals to be fished out of the channel? What they're trying to say is that they can try to be detoured out, but if there is a real risk of their life, that we cannot do anything, because that's what the provisions of the bill are trying to tackle. That at the moment, international maritime law clearly is being applied and individuals are being rescued from the channel.
Do you understand, on a separate point, Dr. Chelvan, when we see an image of 24 very healthy guys jumping out of a boat with their iPhones? I'm going to throw all the obvious stuff at you here, which you're familiar with. Okay, I'm merely putting that very scenario to you. I'm not suggesting it defines the greater picture, but when somebody sees those images, it's not unreasonable to come to the conclusion that these are probably not destitute humanitarian cases who've escaped a tyrannical regime. These are young, fit guys, mostly always guys.
Images without knowing the narrative behind them.
No, indeed.
Look at the facts, look at the figures.
I'm merely saying to you, based on the optics.
Based on refugee is not stereotyping in relation
based on the optics. And if those guys then get to the litmus test of whether their application is legitimate, if that bar is so low, because the Home Office and others,
with the greatest respect, I've been working in this field for over 20 years.
I get it.
The standard of proof is supposed to be the lowest standard of proof, a reasonable degree of likelihood. Why? Because our courts, our highest court, the House of Lords, in a case called Bugtakai, says that when there's a risk of life, then you don't just throw somebody to the lions because they haven't provided civil standard more likely than not.
So the bar
bill
is
at the moment currently proposes increasing the standard proof, but with the greatest respect, nobody who represents refugee lawyers refugee claimants, nobody who represents them prepares a case on the low standard of proof. We go on the point because we realise that the Home Office has a culture of disbelief. So we front load cases with as much evidence. What is needed is to get away from the media attention of the optics to be able to create a story to go against British values. Because what this summer has clearly shown is that this political drive to drive out genuine refugees is against British values. Because we as a people, we as a nation, accept that we will protect those who need safety.
Maybe people want to protect those that really need safety, but are a little suspicious of the amount involved and some of the cases. It could well be that. Dr. Chelvan, thank you for your time, sir. Very thorough stuff. Head of Immigration and Public Law at 33 Bedford Row Chambers, with us here on Talk Radio. Wow, over to you. 0344